So recently, my daughter and I had moved, and the move went without any trouble at all. My daughter and I began to settle into our new home. There was something so refreshing about this place. I really felt this would be the grand beginning of our new life together. I felt something stirring inside me that I have not felt in a long time. Hope. I was a very motivated buyer. In addition to this, I was always captivated by the Victorian style of architecture. I am so comforted by an old-fashioned residence like this. It reminded me of the home I grew up in better times. The first night I tucked Jessica into bed, I worried for my sweet baby and let her know if she needed anything at all, my bedroom's just next door and the door would be open, of course. I watched as sleep quickly found her. She had taken the loss of her mother very hard, as any 6-year-old would, and it did my heart well to see her sleeping soundly with the same angelic face as the woman we recently laid to rest. Exhausted myself, I crawled into my new bed and fell asleep. I awoke in the middle of the night to a silhouette standing before me. Now, I get very disoriented when I first wake up, and I jumped with fright when I saw the initially formless shadow looming over my bed. As my eyes adjusted to the minimal light of the hallway, I felt relief when I saw that it was just the tiny form of Jessica. The relief was short-lived as I could see she was shaking with fright. I asked with concern, "What's the matter, darling?" She said with her voice shaking, "I'm scared, Daddy." In as fatherly as a voice as I could muster at 2 a.m. in the morning, I told her, "Go back to sleep, little darling. There's nothing to be afraid of." She replied with escalating fear, "That's what the man living in the wall said to me." My heart leapt into my throat. Had I heard her right? Yes, there's no mistaking it. I grabbed a baseball bat and told Jessica to stay behind me as we ventured into the darkness of her room. Before I could turn on the light, a loud bang filled the air. I looked to the ground and saw that Jessica had tripped over the carpeting of her bedroom, elevated above the hardwood floor of the hallway. I helped her back onto her feet, and with sweat beginning to form on my brow, I turned on the light. The light filled the room. The emptiness called back to me. I looked high and low for anything suspicious, and found nothing. I pressed my ear up to the wall and listened intently. Absolutely nothing. So, of course, my mind began to relax. Jessica always had a very active imagination. Also, the therapist said that the emotional trauma of the loss of her mother would manifest itself in a lot of weird ways. This, coupled with the move, must have taken more out of Jessica than I initially thought. I offered to let her share my bed with me and watched as she fell asleep once again. I wasn't going to let this little wrinkle spoil our new life together. The flame of optimism deep within still burned brightly as I closed my eyes that evening. The next morning, my concern returned as Jessica spent the entire morning talking about the man in the wall. I felt it would do her well to spend the day with her favorite aunt. She's very fond of my wife's ex-wife, former wife. I'm new to this whole widower thing. Her sister. This would be perfect. A perfect opportunity to begin the slight renovations on the home. I had planned this anyways. I dropped her off and told Alicia that I would return around 9 p.m. sharp. I opened the door to our new house and made a beeline for the first floor closet. As lame as this sounds, I was kind of excited about beginning to work on the kitchen shelves. This place was near perfection, but could use some minor alterations to become the perfect refuge for me and my daughter. I had envisioned in my mind that this would be great. It would be the perfect house. So, I opened the closet door and turned on the light, expecting to see my tool belt, but instead was greeted by nothing. I stared at the blank space, perplexed. I could have sworn that I placed my tools in the closet during the move. However, everything has been so hectic the past few days, I must have just been mistaken. I thoroughly searched the house and turned up nothing. They must have been lost on the move, I just assumed. I went to the hardware store to buy some replacements and began to work on the kitchen. I went to pick up Jessica and was relieved to see how happy she was. However, as I drove her home from her aunt's, her ecstatic demeanor shifted from jubilance to terror as we pulled into the driveway. She almost refused to enter the door. She just kept repeating over and over again, "The man in the wall, the man in the wall." My heart sank. I needed this to work. It was important for me to resume a sense of normalcy in my life. I knew Jessica would adjust. She just needed some time. So, I awoke in the middle of the night to see a silhouette standing in front of my bed again. I said, "Jessica, what's wrong, darling?" "Nothing, Daddy," she replied sleepily. The shock struck my body like a bolt of lightning. I turned to my right to see my daughter laying in bed next to me with her eyes closed. My memory of her refusing to sleep in her room came flooding back. I looked back to the shadow standing at the foot of my bed with incomprehensible horror. My eyes began to reveal the face of this unkept man, his insane eyes glaring at me, and the claw hammer clutched firmly in his grasp.